There we go. YouTube, what's going on? Was just telling TikTok about the video we posted today. If you're on YouTube, go check it out. It's called One Question for Every NFL Quarterback. Forget his name. I think Eric was asking about what was your question for Geno Smith? It was, how did the rest of the league, does the rest of the league know what they did letting you play half your games in a dome every single year? In his 14 games in a dome, he's 30 touchdowns, 5 picks, 111 quarterback rating. AFC West about to be active. Mason, what's going on? Zach, appreciate the gifts. I don't know what that means, to be honest. I got to study up the metrics of TikTok Live, but appreciate it. We're in that lull. As you know, I appreciate you guys hanging. We turn the corner like a month from now. The juices, we'll have training camp news to react to, more football stuff, but hey, we can talk a little football, a little life. This will be the first time. So I live in LA. This is the first time I've done a 4th of July in LA. I've lived in LA for the better side of the past 12 years. This is the first 4th of July I've done in LA in 12 years. I used to go to Wisconsin every single year for the 4th. Lake Delavan. Shout out the Midwest crew on the live. There is nothing like the Midwest 4th of July. You get lake life, just get some light beer, chilling, cheese curds. That's good living. I miss that. I also grew up where I grew up. There was a bunch of lakes as well. So I'm a lake guy more than an ocean guy, even though I live 25 minutes away from the ocean, 20 minutes away from the ocean. We'll have a good time. As long as you have a body of water, you're having a good time. On that note, too, for those of you guys on YouTube that clicked into my Joey Chestnut thumbnail, I saw Joey Chestnut, which obviously his name comes up because hot dog eating competition, 4th of July. I saw him in a hotel lobby at the national championship game earlier this year in January. It's crazy, man. He just looks like a normal-ass dude. Like, that's wild. Like, he's putting down, like 76 hot dogs or whatever. And, like, yeah, he's got a little gut, but, like, he's just kind of doing his thing. Let's go golfing with Justin Davis. Who said that? I'm down. Little JD. What's up, Kurt? Is Justin Davis golf? Zach, I never hunt, man. I'm a wuss like that. I don't. That's not my speed. Mr. McGowan says, "What's up?" Good to see you, Mr. McGowan. Hope all's well. Gosh, I could go for a Seattle 4th of July right now. Hope all's well, though. Good to see your name. LaRon asks, thoughts on Pitt football? I think Eli Holstein's one of the most slept-on quarterbacks in college football. That dude's good. People don't know about him, or people forgot about him, or people just focused on the fact that Pitt lost, 7 straight games to end the year last year? 6 straight games? They were 7-0. Big reason why was Eli Holstein and their offensive coordinator. They could, it's a classic. Like, I feel like Pitt does this every single year, where they're never going to be picked to win the conference. But it would not surprise me if they sneak up on some people, and it would not surprise me if they're in contention in November. He's good, though. He is good. One sec. Father-in-law is texting me about this potato salad. Are we potato salad people? See, do I want to commit to the potato salad and have that be like, oh, Max wanted potato salad at 4th of July? Or do I just say, scratch it, I'll stick to the hot dogs? Hot dogs and the chips. Heading to Pitt, West Virginia in September. Any thoughts? Great rivalry. Where's that game? Where is that at Pitt or at West Virginia? If that's at Pitt, that's going to be rocking. Oh, Mr. McGowan, hell yeah. Heading to Pitt, West Virginia, backyard brawl. Love that. I'll never forget when I got in trouble for stealing the chips in the side concession stands after weightlifting. That's a good story. Mr. McGowan, you'll be glad to hear. I probably tell that story. It probably comes up like once a year of like, what's one thing you did when you were a teenager that was like wrong or whatever. Assistant principal. I didn't think I was doing anything sketchy. The chips were just like standing right there. Actually, that's a lie. I knew what I was doing was like breaking the rules, but I also knew like, the chips are right there, man. I'm not taking hundreds of dollars of items. Travis, what's up? Good to see you. Drew as well. All-time favorite running back and receiver. Receiver, the name that comes to mind first is Randy Moss. Randy Moss was so sick. And there's like levels to Randy Moss too, because one of my first and favorite all-time video games is NFL Street, and Randy Moss is a cheat code in NFL Street, Volume 3, I believe it was. And then my first memories of football, Randy was like the cool guy with the cornrows and all that. So like there's an evolution there. And then as I got older to like respect football even more, and then Randy had that last kick as a veteran receiver with the Patriots, then I had like appreciation for where he's at. Yeah, it's Randy Moss. And then now the broadcaster, I respect how he's pivoted there. All-time favorite running back. Dude, I'll go old school. Like that era of Sean Alexander, LaDainian Tomlinson, Priest Holmes, Jamal Lewis. All-time favorite running back. Let me give you a good, real answer. Who am I? Who's stopping my remote? Who am I locking into running back wise? Frank Gore was on my fantasy team. Adrian Peterson. Sorry. AP was next level. AP was next level. I remember. So some of you guys asked me about this last time. My college decision came down to Oklahoma and USC. And for about like 3 weeks in February of 2012, I was stressing. I was not sure where I was going to go, USC or Oklahoma, USC or Oklahoma. When I visited OU, what's his face? Head coach, Bob Stoops. Their like weight room was like off campus a little bit. So I hopped in Bob Stoops's pink Mercedes and we drove to the weight room, and it was the same strength coach that had trained AP back then. And he told me the story about AP drove from, I believe he's from Texas, drove to Oklahoma for like a, high school visit or whatever, like, come for the weekend kind of thing. Dude shows up on campus in jeans after a 4 or 5 hour car ride. Why they had him run a 40-yard dash, I don't know. That's a recipe to pull a hammy. But anyways, AP jumps out of the car. He's a big-time recruit. He doesn't have to run. Like, why does he have to run? Any school in the country would want him to be their, running back recruit. He decides to run, speaks to his work ethic, shows up in jeans, runs a 4.40 as like a high school senior after a 5 hour car ride from Texas to Oklahoma. Legendary. I also saw that video last week of him beating some dude's ass in a casino. I don't know if you guys saw that. Or no. He actually, that random dude kind of gave him a run for his money. Hopefully AP doesn't go, like, hopefully he's okay. But, playing a little poker and getting after some random dude. Splendid Daddy, former Sugar Daddy. You still got that badge, dude. I don't know how you got that. AP would have won a natty if he picked Texas. Dude, can you imagine that running back? AP with Texas at that time? That would have been what? Jamal Charles, Adrian Peterson. Who else was that running back at that time? That's after Cedric Benson. Who else was Splendid Daddy? Who else was in Texas's backfield at that time? Zach Smith says, nah, just bring beer. That's all you need. What's the light beer of choice, Zach? What's the light beer of choice? I'm a Coors Light guy. Coors Light, Modelo these days. Coors Light, Modelo. It's funny, especially as a guy. So I've lived grew up in Seattle, went to school at USC, went to school at Pittsburgh, lived in New York, lived in San Diego. And it's funny, like the different light beers of every pocket. So like, I feel like most of my Washington homies are Coors Light people. The Pittsburgh homies were Miller Lite people. My USC homies at the time were Bud Light people, like, a decade ago. Now I feel like Coors Light's there. Modelo's had the kick. Side note, this is my like subtle college flex. Before Kona Big Wave became like an absolute staple in every refrigerator aisle, we had it on tap in my college dorm. We'd have it like delivered once a month and had these like 2 little mini keg things. We weren't like pounding Kona every night, don't get me wrong, but or like don't get it twisted. But it was when we had people over, it was a subtle flex on the weekends, especially like this time of year. Like July as an athlete, where dude, literally a college football player right now. So they probably have tomorrow off. right now is like peak for a college football player. They have tomorrow off, so they're probably not working out. They just got done with their last workout. So everyone wanted the 6 a.m. workout before a holiday. Get in, get out, get on with your life. Right now, the vibes are great. So you're walking out of it. You just got free breakfast. You probably picked up a lunch, workout, and all the trainings in the bag. You got a 3-day weekend to, go have a good time. All the college coaches are sitting by their phone this weekend, hoping that their players don't make a boneheaded mistake, do something stupid. Thank you, Travis, for the subtle flex. It was we had a mini keg of Kona Big Wave and a mini keg of grapefruit Sculpin. I think we were all sophisticated as 21-year-olds. Breck's backup. How much money do you make from commentating? How much money do you think is the per game rate for a guy like me? I'm not going to tell you, but I can maybe give you an over under. Give me a legit guess. I'm not talking Kirk Herbstreit and Joel Klatt. It's a different level. But for my level, how much do you think it is? Breck's backup. Is that a per game rate you're saying? 50K? Aiden Kossoff asked about sleeper college football team. I've got this question each of the past 3 lives. My answers are Texas Tech, just by what they've done in the portal. Like, it's hard to ignore that. I love Washington, and no one nationally is talking about Damon Williams. Husky fans are super excited about Damon Williams. There's some sneaky value there because we all get excited about the quarterbacks we know. We don't know, or we don't get excited as much in the offseason about quarterbacks that we haven't seen yet for obvious reasons. Washington, Texas Tech, Georgia Tech's really interesting to me. I think they can make some noise. Louisville in the ACC is interesting to me. I have a hard time believing Utah goes back-to-back years of just like, bleh. So, they're intriguing to me. Big Ten, the normal folks. SEC is going to be an absolute bloodbath. If anything, I guess Oklahoma. There was someone in the chat last week that said Oklahoma. I'm huge on John Mateer. If you don't know about John Mateer, get ready. Watch your film. But he's intriguing to me. Breck's backup, it's way less than that. I'm not getting paid 50 bands a game. It is way, way, way less than that for me. Joel Klatt, Kirk Herbstreit. Kirk Herbstreit's probably over that. Yeah, Kirk Herbstreit's definitely over that. It's kind of wild. Shows you the huge range in compensation. T.O. is sick. Colin, is that a joke with Kennesaw State, or am I missing something with Kennesaw State? Was Sam Darnold and Kenny Pickett really like that? Yeah, 2 great dudes, man, and 2 ballers. I got Kenny as a true freshman, not a senior. So, to me, Sam Darnold was better than Kenny. But both guys, so I played with a lot of guys that played in the NFL, but those 2 guys specifically, the one thing that sticks out is they didn't have the learning curve for a true freshman quarterback that every other quarterback I played with had. Even the guys that played in the NFL, like Kenny and Sam right away got to college football and they could operate. They weren't, well-versed in every read. They would make mistakes. They would make errors, but the speed of the game was not overwhelming for them. Every other true freshman quarterback I played with, it took them a year to get used to the speed of the game. Not get used to it. We all had to get used to it, but there was not that overwhelming period or being overwhelmed period. And so that's a good sign. I always looked at, even when I'm evaluating quarterbacks now, and that's why I'm slow to roll on a guy like Tyler Shuck, right? When you have 7 years of college and you have 7 off seasons to get used to the college game, I'd hope that you are comfortable with the speed of the game. What concerns me is that when you have to jump to the next level, if you took many years to get adjusted to college football, my gut says that's a similar thing's going to happen in the NFL. The guys that excite me, with Jackson Dart, quickly adjust to college football. That gives me that makes me encouraged when he gets to the NFL, he's going to quickly adjust there. TSS, Max, what's going on? Devin Dampier. Yeah, I go on Salt Lake Radio a decent amount, so I got to study up on Devin Dampier. I got to study up on him. Zach, Zach's an OG too. Zach, I appreciate you. Do I watch UFC? So I'm not like a UFC guy, but it's funny. I was at a bachelor party this past weekend, and it was a big UFC crew. So we were watching the whole card. So it was the first time I've watched, the final 3 fights of a card for, in years. That was active. That Van guy, I don't forget his first name. That Van guy, that fight was electric. I might have to get into UFC more. Siobhan, good to see you. Johan, good to see you. Some locals or some OGs over there on YouTube. Do you have any stories about a walk-on guy? Ooh, all my best buds were walk-ons, to be honest, still to this day. So any good walk-on stories? Any good walk-on stories? I mean, I don't know. Nothing. All my walk-on stories are you got to like know the guy for it to be funny, Like you got to have the context. Yeah. Do I know Buster? I do not know Buster. You played with Amon-Ra and Addison along with Juju and Michael Pittman. I played with Michael Pittman when I got benched and had to play scout team quarterback. Michael Pittman was my go-to target, but I did not. I'm like 4 years older than those guys. I'm or 3 or 4 years older than those guys. Yeah. Do you think Bryce Underwood will live up to the hype? I don't know. I think the hype's for real. I don't know. And anyone that thinks they know, outside of maybe you're a Michigan coach and you've already seen him throw, I don't think we'll know until he gets actual real reps. I do think it will not be a smooth transition for him. I do think he's going to have a learning curve. I do think he's going to have to manage, hey, expectations are sky high, and it wouldn't surprise me if in the first few weeks he has a game where he goes 9 for 18 with, a touchdown and 2 picks, and people are going to be like getting on his case a little bit. He's a confident dude. I've never talked to him, but you can just tell by his all the social media stuff. He's got some swagger. When you have swagger, that's great. I want my quarterbacks to have swagger, but it always is a question for me of when they get punched in the mouth, how they're going to respond, because that can be a whirlwind when, you got the swagger and then you throw 2 picks in a game and maybe you're the reason that team lost. How do you respond there? That to me will be the big thing I'm watching with the Bryce Underwood. The flip side is I think that happened a little bit to Dante Moore, 5-star kid, starts early at UCLA, doesn't have tons of success. It's not ugly, but doesn't have tons of success. And then people lost some juju about him. That's why I'm excited about Dante. Sits for a year. Everything you read is that he's, balling out in practice. So it's not to say that, hey, even if the first month doesn't go right for Bryce Underwood, he's in trouble forever. But it takes time, dude. It's hard to operate as a true freshman quarterback. We see guys like Caleb Williams do it, and then it's like, oh, every guy should do that. Nah, it ain't that easy. What do I think about USC this year? I mean, I'm taking the over on the Vegas over-under win total. It's at 7.5. I think it's 8, so it's not like it's like way over. I think 8 wins secures Lincoln's job for the next year. I think you have to see a huge step in terms of physicality. You can't have the fourth quarter struggles. Jade Maeva has everything to be a really good college quarterback. Does he have everything to be the next Caleb Williams or Sam Darnold? No, I don't think he's there yet. But the standard at SC for quarterback play is so high that, dealing with those expectations is the reality for him. But I have the over-under on the win total. I have the over on the over-under win total. But front 7, got to be way more physical, got to be better on the defensive line, and can't have the fourth quarter struggles and the weird play calling, man. Like, I really like Lincoln as a offensive mind and a play caller, period. Both can also be true. Last year, I think he felt the need to get like too creative, and maybe that's because I don't know, but like he was like trying to reinvent the wheel, stick to the meat and potatoes, run smash, run 4 verts. It doesn't always need to be like a half roll with an over go concept kind of thing. Stick to the meat and potatoes. Favorite campus you've ever visited? So funny enough, I actually didn't visit that many campuses for being a big time recruit. But I visited Wisconsin in July on the lake. That was sick. Going into Camp Randall, that's probably a little bit of a different one for you that you might not expect. But that Wisconsin was dope. Fun story. I've told this one before, but when I was visiting Wisconsin, I was a rising junior. I made a Midwest swing with my dad, Notre Dame, Michigan, and Wisconsin. And walk into Paul Christ's office, or maybe it was Brett Bielema, either one. And they go, you know what? We really like you. We're offering you today. But just so you know, we're tracking this grad transfer dude from North Carolina State. We think we're going to get him. But just so you know, that's going on. Want to be transparent with you. That North Carolina State guy was Russell Wilson. Led him to the Rose Bowl. Fringe Hall of Famer 10 years later. Mason, who am I? Not trying to be rude. Max Brown, college football analyst. Produce a lot of content over there on TikTok, short form stuff like football takes. Played football in college, and good to have you, man. Johan, did you meet Snoop Dogg at USC? I did not meet Snoop Dogg at USC, but I called a game with Snoop Dogg back in January. Where's that picture? I posted some content. Type Max Brown, Snoop Dogg. He sat next to me in the booth for 2 quarters or so. Favorite celebrity you've met? Probably Snoop Dogg. I mean, I haven't really met that many celebrities. Is Garrett Nussmeier QB1 in the early 2026 QB rankings? QB rankings for college or QB rankings for how they project to the NFL? If I had to draft my NFL quarterback right now, I'm taking Garrett Nussmeier over Drew Aller. I mean, right now, I'm probably taking Arch, but I'm high on Garrett Nussmeier. Garrett Nussmeier, maybe he might be too. I'm taking Nussmeier over Lenora Sellers. I'm taking Nussmeier over Aller as things stand right now. I'm taking Nussmeier over John Mateer. For those of you guys on both YouTube and TikTok, I spent an hour and a half yesterday watching Lenora Sellers' film. I was like, yo, people are saying he's the next Cam Newton. Like, I got to dive into the film. I got to have takes. I got to have a foundation to like speak about Lenora Sellers on. I see the hype. I think we all are falling into the trap of he had 2 electric runs that were all over SportsCenter on 2 different Saturdays. The electric run versus Florida, where he broke for like 80 to the house, and he looks the part. So it's like, yo, who's this dude? And then the electric run to beat Clemson last year, like dynamic run. That we in our brain are focusing on those 2 runs. There's a lot more to the film. He needs to take a full step as a passer, command in the passing game to get to a point where he's an NFL guy, to get to a point where he's, talking like before, like where he's like Cam Newton. I watched 4 games of Lenora Sellers from last year. The last 3, so it was Missouri, Clemson, and the bowl game versus whoever they played, Illinois. And then I also watched the LSU game, because the LSU game was when he like first burst onto the scene. I did not see a single passing attempt 10 to 20 yards in between the hashes, period. No hedge. In 4 games for Lenora Sellers, I did not see one passing attempt 10 to 25 yards, intermediate in the middle of the hashes. Max, why does that matter? Why do you say that? That means that his play calling is a lot of attacking the outside lanes, which is easier to read. His offensive coordinator is not asking him to throw within windows and read different coverages and hey, wait for the second or third window and progress that way. Maybe he's not being asked to do that, so maybe he can, but that's just not the system he's in. But to me, that's concerning, because you look at all the other big-time first-round quarterbacks, they all are forced to process over the middle. Dig routes, vertical route with a bender and throw your receiver open. A tight end basic, a tight end sitting over the middle of the ball. None of that in 4 games. Not a single attempt. Not a single attempt. The one, if you're really fact checking me, and some of you guys go back and fact check me, there's a couple over routes, but I'd argue those are outside the hash. It's coming into his, it's not having to navigate different linebackers and whatnot. So to me, he's going to take a full step as a passer in his command to be in that NFL conversation. Reminds me too much of Anthony Richardson. Ooh, yeah, that's a good take. So to me, his mobility in the pocket honestly reminds me of Johnny Manziel, because you can tell the they only call design quarterback runs for him when it's got to have it downs. So it's 3rd and 4th down, plus side of the field, or late in the game, you got to have it. Or, and this is another tell, they ask him to run the ball when they're up by 1 score, and you can tell the offensive coordinator is like, I just don't want my quarterback to make the catastrophic mistake, so let's just use his legs and try to close out this game kind of thing. I like that because you're protecting your quarterback. I like that because they want him to be a quarterback. They don't want him to be a run-first guy to then open up the pass. Where that gives me concern is I don't think he's as elite of a runner as Anthony Richardson, Cam Newton, Lamar Jackson, Jalen Hurts. Like he gets knocked back. He doesn't deliver the blow to defenders. So to me, he's not in that category from a designed run perspective. But you look at that Clemson game, he has like 4 or 5 scrambles in the pocket, very Johnny Manziel-esque, where he's making guys miss and he's keeping his eyes up and looking to make plays. He got more comfortable as the year goes on. So the hype is valid because you can see that progression, like him getting to the next level, but he's got a full nother level to get to ultimately get to like, first round Heisman conversation. A question: could you have seen yourself going to an IMG type school in high school if you were recruiting today's age? What was your top competition like? Any circuits back then? I would not have gone to an IMG. I did not go to private school. I went to public school. I got super lucky where my public school, even in Seattle, was locked in for football. It was like a mini junior college for, football. Like we had handful of D1 guys, a good amount of D1 AA, D3 guys. Like it was locked in. Like there was no, from a commitment, weightlifting, work ethic thing, a lot of guys get to college football and it's like a huge adjustment. Was not at all for me. So I was super lucky to play in a high school program like that where I didn't have to go to a private school. Like my public school was dialed. And like, there's nothing like playing high school ball with like your homies and, going after state championship. So I never would have gone to IMG. If the high school that I grew up in was terrible at football and, the coach was terrible and all that, like maybe you consider an IMG thing, but dude, that's a lot. As a kid from the Seattle area to move across the country and go to IMG, that's a lot. But it's a different ballgame. Like, I also think my recruitment would have been a lot different. Like, dude, my dad basically was like, hey, go wherever you want. My parents were, relatively hands-off with my recruitment. But I would have got offered 7 figures out of high school. And so that would have changed the entire game. Like that's real life money where you can't be hands off. You have to meet with financial advisors. You have to have a plan. If the example I always say is if Washington State offered me $1 million to go there and USC offered me $500,000, that's a real decision. That's a real decision. That's real money. So my recruitment certainly would have been different. The mindset certainly would have been different if I was, 18, 17 years old now, but I don't think I would have gone IMG. Do you play fantasy football? And if so, who is your sleeper wide receiver? I do play fantasy football. I'm not a fantasy football nut though. Shout out Tristan Miller. If there's any hometown people there, he's the best fantasy footballer I know. Friend from home, commissioner of my league. I mean, I'm going to give the homer pick, but the Seahawks receivers are interesting to me. Cooper Kupp, Jackson Smith, and Jigba. If one of them take the next step, like one of them's got to be receiver 1. Sorry, Cooper Kupp not taking the next step because he's already taken the next step. But if he settles in and stays healthy, he could do something. Did you get paid to go to USC? I did not, man. I didn't get offered any money. I swear, which is rare as a 5-star number 1 quarterback, but it speaks to, I think coaches knew that wasn't my vibe, man. There's guys that have a certain something about them where they're chasing the dough, even if it's illegal. That wasn't my thing. Do you think CJ Carr will start at Notre Dame? I don't know. I do not know. I do not have a take there. Yeah, the Lenora Sellers thing will be interesting. I'm working on a long form for YouTube, but the concept we're working on is something along the lines of if best case scenario for him is he's the next Cam Newton, but then you look at like other guys that were in the similar conversation of him in terms of like super high ceiling, super exciting film, not the most consistent necessarily, a lot of upside, some downside. Like the names that stick out are, Cam Newton, Lamar Jackson, Johnny Manziel, Jalen Hurts, Jalen Milroe, Dorian Thompson-Robinson, Jordan Travis, Kenny Hill, back my age. I'm not saying Kenny Hill is Cam Newton, but I am saying they have that 1 year that gets college football super excited. You can see the skill set they have. They have upside. Some guys tap into that. Some guys max out and don't tap into that. Where is Lenora Sellers going to be on that spectrum? Those of you guys that are on my lives and follow my content consistently, like even saying that out loud, dude, Jalen Milroe should have gone back to school, man. He would have been the best quarterback in college football right now. Now I know, like, I do think the Seahawks is a good scenario for him to land in, but like third round pick, he could have grown into a first round pick. He has a long ways to go as a passer. He's not there yet. I wish him the best because he like genuinely seems like a good dude, but should have gone back to school. Thoughts on how Miller Moss will do with Jeff Brom at Louisville? What's your opinion on Brom? So fun fact, I've told this story before, but anytime this question comes up, I'll say it again. I ran into Miller Moss at the grocery store right when he transferred out of USC. We used to live nearby each other. And I was like, yo, we're like picking up food. I was like, yo, where are you thinking about going? And he said like Louisville right away. And this was like 2 weeks before he committed. And I was thinking, I'm like, dude, Louisville. And like in my mind, I didn't say this to him, but in my mind, I was like, Louisville, dude. Like, I feel like, it could have gone somewhere better, candidly. But then now that I say that, look, Louisville is a good shot. I'm excited for Miller. I think he got a raw deal at USC. I think he fell in the trap of USC fans. Someone asked me a UFC question earlier, and USC, I keep jumping them back and forth. But USC fans, the bar is Caleb Williams, the bar is Sam Darnold. So when you don't have that, it's like, oh, you suck as a quarterback. Not the case. I think Miller could have a great year this year and be right in the NFL conversation as a mid-round pick. I think he's a good, talented passer. Louisville is the sneaky ACC pick. Like I said before, I've never met Jeff Brom, though. I've never met Jeff Brom. I've heard nothing but great things about him as like, hey, he's a top 10 coach in college football that no one talks about. And what they did with Tyler Shough, they gave him the keys to the car, that offense, that passing attack. Like they do some good concepts. It's not a training wheels offense. Like they're going to let their quarterback rock. They do some good things with the run game too. So I think Miller Moss could have a big year. USC bar is Max Brown. What the low side? The low side? Evan Stewart injury. Do you have any good news? I do not. I do not at all. Bummer for Ducks fans. Michael N., what's going on? From your time and thoughts on today, does USC football have a true rivalry feeling for ND team game? Yes, they do. I always say this. So USC has two rivalries, at least the two biggest rivalries, UCLA and Notre Dame. If you're a kid that grew up in LA, the bigger rivalry for you is UCLA. If you're a kid that was a national prospect like me, Notre Dame's the bigger game. So for me, I felt more of the juice for the Notre Dame game, especially going to South Bend. There's just a cool, unique feeling where, it's the classic term. It's the only intersectional rivalry in college football. What does that mean? It's the only rivalry in college football that you don't have a geographical component to it, which is super special, and you feel that. But that's always my line. If you're a national prospect that goes and plays at USC, you're a Notre Dame guy. If you're a local LA product and you played in the same youth circuits and you went to the same private schools, UCLA is the bigger rivalry for you. I feel like I can't answer that question without acknowledging that, like, would not surprise me if the USC rivalry went away from an optics standpoint. But it's not USC's fault. It'll be the CFP's fault. What's going to happen is if a 9-3 Big Ten team gets left out of the CFP in lieu of a 11-1 ACC team or 10-2 ACC team, then if you're USC, you're like, screw this. Like, CFP is not putting in the best team. They're putting in the record and the optics and the less friction and all that. That's why they would do it. And if USC and Notre Dame go away, Georgia Tech, Georgia, look out. Clemson, South Carolina, look out. They're coming. I know everyone loves to hate on USC, but USC would be the first, and get ready for the other ones to come. Check Gator, what's up? What's up? Who was your best teammate at Skyline besides Kaysen? I mean, like, career-wise, it's got to be Peyton Pleurer, who was Washington State's all-time leading tackler, or Washington State Cougars all-time leading tackler, or Jordan Simone, had a hell of a career at Arizona State as a safety. Got to be those two, right? Yeah, got to be one of those two. Check Gator, are you a Skyline guy? You a Northwest guy? Where's that? Thanks, man. Appreciate it. Any must-attend games you're going to this year? So I will be calling a full slate of 16 games, that's for sure. Stay tuned for a little update on that front, but I don't know my game schedule yet, so I'm not sure. But I'll be on the road every single Saturday this fall. Sammamish, baby, stand up, the Platte. Dude, I'm jealous. Hopefully get out to Pine Lake or Lake Sammamish. Envious of that, man. Get out there. Can you help explain why Aaron Nolan thought it was a good idea to transfer and be the backup? I'm out of the loop on that. What's that? I'm out of the loop on that. Thanks, Jules. Appreciate you, man. Yeah, I called a full slate of games last year for the CW, so it'll be, travel-wise. I travel out on Thursdays, back. Hopefully I'm back Saturday night, sleep in my bed, get home at like 2 a.m. But, yeah, man, this will be my – so I called one game in 2020. I called 3 games in 2020. I called one game in 2020 for Conference USA. In 2021, I called 3 games for the Pac-12. In 2022, I called like another 3 or 4 games for the Pac-12. In 2023, I called like 6 games for the Pac-12. 2024, I called a full slate last year, 16 games for the CW. I'll have a full slate again this year. It's fun, man. It's fun. Louisville tends to have CW games. Hope to hear you, bro. Congrats again. Keep us sending. Yes, sir. Appreciate you. We didn't have Louisville last year. We had a lot of Syracuse. I called probably 4 Syracuse games, a Wake Forest game, a North Carolina game, 2 North Carolina games, 2 Boston College games, 2 Cal games. Yeah. What was the best part about USC? The best part about USC. I loved going to USC because it's a school that goes pedal to the metal in everything. Pedal to the metal in school, you get people that are aspiring to do whatever they want, like to do what they want to do in life. It's pedal to the metal in sports. Every team's expecting to win a national championship. It's pedal to the metal on Greek Row with the parties, like everyone's wanting to outdo each other. And found my wife there as well. So I guess that's my favorite part. But there's a certain energy at USC where it's like, yo, let's go. Let's make moves. Do students go to games at USC? Yeah, but not like, Penn State or Michigan kind of thing. Did you ever play against Bothell in high school? I played against Bothell a bunch. I played Bothell probably 5 times in high school. We almost played them 3 times in 1 year my senior year, but we played them twice my senior year. Once my junior year, once my sophomore year. Twice my freshman year when I was a backup. We played them in the state championship, right? No, we played them in the state semis and the conference championship. Sophomore year once, junior year once, senior year twice. I am missing the birth of my daughter to watch your live. I love your lives. There we go, TC. That's commitment right there. That is commitment. TC coming in with the juice, man. Fun fact, my nephew was born on 4th of July. His name, Lincoln. It's very American. Love to hear it. Love to hear it. What kind of numbers will Jeremiah Smith put up this year? Wouldn't surprise me if it's less than last year, to be honest. That being said, loved the way that Ryan Day fed the rock to Marvin Harrison Jr., when everyone knew that they were trying to get him the ball, they still found a way to get him catches. That was super impressive in 2023. What were Jeremiah Smith's stats last year? It's going to come down to who his quarterback is. It's going to come down to who his quarterback is. He had 1,300 yards last year, 15 TDs. I'd say it's right about the same. I think it's going to take like a month for the quarterback to work in, and I also think every single team is going to double. Not every single team, because Ohio State's loaded, but a lot of teams are going to double Jeremiah Smith. Damian Lillard traded to the Lakers. LeBron James, Milwaukee Bucks. Is that actually a thing, or is that just a little spam comment? Don't be telling me that. You know I'm a big LeBron guy. Lakers wake up to terrible trade news. What? Gosh dang it. A little clickbaity headline. The Miami Heat are reportedly seeking a first-round pick, Dalton Knecht and Rui Hachimura for the Lakers in trade talk centered around Andrew Wiggins. Okay, you're out here. Fun fact, Andrew Wiggins, when I got Gatorade National Player of the Year, Andrew Wiggins was the basketball representative, and he won there's a Gatorade National Player of the Year for every sport, and then there's like the number one male and the number one female. Andrew Wiggins got the number one male. Good dude. Spent the weekend with him. That was cool. Also, on that same trophy, the trophy's behind my left shoulder, up in storage, up in the little shed area. But Clayton Kershaw's on that trophy. He won Gatorade National Player of the Year twice. And I'm not a baseball guy, but I was having a drink last night at a bar, and I saw in the corner of the table he was chasing his 3,000th strikeout. That is a lot of Ks. Clayton Kershaw last night, 3,000 strikeouts, only 20 pitchers ever in the history of the MLB. That's getting it done. That's getting it done. That's a lot of dudes walking with their head between their tail between their toes. Like, damn. Fourth left-handed pitcher to do it. Who are the other three? Randy Johnson, the big unit. There's one. Who else? Well, this is good. I'm not a baseball guy, so let me see where my knowledge goes back. Is it the old A's pitcher with the mustache? He's lefty. It's Barry Zito. Who else are lefty? Francisco. What was that Mets guy? Why didn't I go to UW out of high school? Was that hard not to stay home? Oh, it's the question I get once a month. It was not hard. I never grew up in a family that drank the Husky Kool-Aid. In fact, and it speaks to how strong the Husky fan base is. It's one of those fan bases where if you're a dog, you're all the way in. And if you're not, you're all the way out. And my parents went to Idaho. I just never, even though I grew up 25 minutes away, I just never drank the Kool-Aid. Like I never grew up going to UW games. That was just not part of it. And then UW was bad. They won 0 games when I was an 8th grader. And I would argue like one of the most pivotal years, or maybe the most pivotal year in a college football player's recruitment is 8th and 9th grade, because that's like right when the switch flips in your brain of like, ooh, I might play college football someday. Who's good right now? And you're still in like a fan mode. Like you look up to those guys. Like when you get older, the vibe changes. When you become 17 and 18, it's like, dude, these are my competition. Like I'm going to beat these guys out. When you're 13, 14, 15, you're still like a fan and you're idolizing these guys. And UW was just trash when I was in that age. So I never really drank the Kool-Aid. I had it in my mind that I wanted to play for a blue blood program. UW was not at the time. And so I found my way at USC. But I always say, if I was 5 years younger, I saw Jacob Eason recently in person, who was also a 5-star kid, also a hometown guy. He went to Georgia first, landed back at UW. But we were talking about that, and I was like, if I was 5 years younger, if I was his age, he was 3 years younger than me, but you get the point. And Chris Peterson was there, and UW was going to Natties and in the CFP. I probably would have stayed home. It would have been extremely, extremely hard to not stay home when Washington was, peak Chris Peterson era. What do you think about Arizona State next year? I'm slow to roll on Arizona State, not because I think they're bad, but I just think they snuck up on a lot of people last year. You see it in every single sport it's hard to repeat that energy in year 2. when you sneak up on people, you get the right mojo, you get momentum. To me, it's hard to replicate that. I think Sam Levitt's really talented. I think he's borderline arrogant right now. I read that Athletic article where his mom basically said the same thing that I just said. I get that. Have a chip on your shoulder. I get that. But to me, it's different when you become the hunted, not the hunter. And the Big 12 is going to be an amazing crapshoot of like 8 teams that have the exact same talent pool. That what's ASU's over under win total? I don't know what Vegas has it at. But if you're expecting ASU to go 10-2 again, 11-2 again, I'm hammering the under on that. Do you feel like you got a fair shot when you were at Pitt? I got hurt, so like that sucks. I don't know if that's like fair, but I do think if I didn't get hurt, we could have gone on a little run there and had some success. And the ending of my college career could have been a lot different. I think we win that Syracuse game. I think we went 5-7 that year. I think we could have made a bowl game and swung it back around totally. We just had a bunch of factors that like didn't work out that year. We played. The games we lost were to top 10 ranked teams, at least when I was starting. So we were playing steep out of conference competition, brand new offensive coordinator that he was trying to get his footing with a new scheme. Just was factors that didn't work out. Would you ever return to college as a coach? Nah. The only scenario I would is like, my future kids, 25 years from now, out of the house, I become an empty nester. I want a change, different vibe. The relationships that I create as being a media guy, I'm like, you know what? I'll go coach. I'll go be the quarterback coach at Washington State for a few years and do something different. Like when I'm just an empty nester kind of guy at like 60, that's the one scenario I could see myself potentially coaching down the road. CC Sabathia was the other guy. Steve Carlton, that's right. CC Sabathia, dude, he was electric, dude. Speaking of left-handed pitchers, Dontrelle Willis. I used to rock my hat like this because of Dontrelle Willis when I was in elementary school, like on the mound. Not that aggressive. I wasn't just a douchebag, but like I used to do this thing with like curls out the back. Scott Ornway, thoughts on the new Pac-12? I like the move for Texas State. You get into the state of Texas, and I think that program's only investing in athletics more where I think it makes sense. It's a totally like, are you a half what is it? Cups half full or half empty kind of guy. The half full version is, there was a world where the Pac-12 completely dissolved. The whole entity went under. There was never a new home, new conference for Oregon State or Washington State, or they had to go to the Mountain West. And so there was a very real time where the expectations for the Pac-12 were extremely dire. So if that's the frame you're coming at, this is a great success. And I think the new commissioner, what's her name? I'm blanking on her name. She deserves a ton of credit. I also was talking with a couple behind the scenes folks at Pac-12, and the numbers that they're making in terms of expectations for where they were at 18 months ago compared to the actual revenue they're making, much, much higher than the projections, which, okay, they're not making as much as the SEC and the Big Ten. I get that. But again, there was a world where that entire conference, that entire entity folded, and it hasn't. So they deserve a lot of credit. On the flip side, it's nowhere near what the Pac-12 was 3 years ago. Nowhere near. And so in that regard, it's a disappointment. It is not a Power Four conference. It is very much that fifth conference. But I do think they can make some more moves to be the clear-cut fifth conference. So there's the Power Two. Then there's the ACC and the Big 12. Then the Tier 3 could be the Pac-12 alone. And then you could go the other conferences, the Sun Belt, the other, AAC. Like that to me would be a huge win if the Pac-12 could be the clear-cut third tier, but all by themselves, fifth best conference. Because then I think you can backdoor and consistently get one team into the CFP. And I do think they're in a unique spot of like, do they go poach Tulane and do they go poach Memphis in the years to come? Why UNLV did not accept the invite or the reported invite makes no sense to me. I think UNLV is going to regret that a ton. The Mountain West is now a clear backseat to the Pac-12. And UNLV, dude, their facilities are nice. They're in a top 20 market in the US, in Vegas, right off the strip. I know they didn't go because of like a budget buyout concern, but dude, that's the type of business decision. You find a way to make it work in 2025, because in 2030, UNLV is going to regret not being in the Pac-12, my opinion. Favorite play that you would check to based off of defensive alignment, whether that would be a stack box or whatever it may be. They did not give me a lot of checks when I played in college. I mean, my offense at Pitt, we did a lot. That was part of the jet sweep era in college football, where every run tag was tagged with a jet sweep, and you would hand the jet sweep if the backside defensive end was a 7 technique. So he's head up or inside of the tackle, or head up or inside the tight end. If he was a wide 9, you would not hand it to him if he was outside the tight end. But walking up under center, knowing you had 2 options, if I like the front and that backside defensive end is tight, so then the jet sweep guy can run behind him and get the edge. If you had a clean look like that, knowing you're automatically going to get 7, 8, 10 yards, like because the defensive end just gave it to you, that check or that alert was amazing. Just like felt like free yards. Fighter Pilot 54, what up? Fight on. H2P. There we go. Thoughts on John Mateer? I love John Mateer. Love John Mateer. If you're like, Max, what you talking about? Go turn on the Apple Cup film, Washington State versus Washington last year. John Mateer is the best player on that field by far, not even close. He's a baller. Oklahoma fans should be excited. I have John Mateer as I would take John Mateer right now over DJ Lagway. I'd take him over Lenora Sellers. I would take him over Jackson Arnold. John Mateer's top 3 SEC quarterback. I'm going Arch, Garrett Nussmeier, John Mateer. I'm not missing anyone, am I? Yeah. So that dude's a baller. As a college quarterback, he's a little bit shorter. I think his mobility will get minimized in the NFL. So as an NFL prospect, he doesn't project as well right now. That dude's a baller. How to make an accurate deep ball at 14 years old. Reps. Let me give you something more than that, though. Accurate deep ball. I mean, so much of it's just touch and feel and reps and all that. I don't want to make something up. Go out on the field by yourself. Get those reps. The coaching point we always had in college, this is a big Clay Helton thing, is a go route should be complete 43 yards right on the red line. The red line's like a college term. You'll see some practice fields that the red line splits the difference between the numbers and the sideline. I got you right here. The red line's right here. 43 yards down the field. It's a 30-yard line. But so right here, you want to complete it every single time. 43 yards down the field. Drop it in the bucket. Anything longer, you run the risk of a safety getting involved. Best ACC quarterback of all time is Brad Kaaya. No. Based on your offensive scheme, what was the toughest defensive scheme to play against? Nick Saban in Alabama. The old Nebraska coach who was at Youngstown State ran the same defense. The reason being is they sat in a lot of nickel. So the third linebacker was Minkah Fitzpatrick, I believe it was. Yeah. And the reason it's so hard is they're able to disguise their coverage between a cover 3 and a cover 4 look really easily. They're like rolling, and it was an outside leverage nickel a lot. And they disguise their coverage really easily. And from a quarterback's perspective, where you go with the ball versus cover 4 and where you go with the ball versus cover 3 is completely different. So you might call a play, and I'm having to process, are they 4, are they 3, where they at? And your read totally changes. Versus if you play a team that's like a heavy man team or a heavy cover 3 team where they're switching between both those, both those coverages are one high. So where you're going with the rock doesn't change that much. So yeah, Saban and that defense was the hardest hitters to play against. Reuben Foster, dude, twice in that game was just stupid. Out for blood, hooting and hollering, screaming across the line after the play. What QB has the best supporting cast in the NFL and college level? Jalen Hurts, like by far in the NFL, in my opinion. I don't even think Jalen Hurts is a top 10 quarterback in the NFL, and he just won a Super Bowl. Is that a spicy take? Top quarterbacks in the NFL, is that a spicy take? And in a world where a lot of the narrative is like, hey, you have to have a top tier quarterback to win. You got to have a Lamar, a Burrow, a Mahomes, a Josh Allen. We just watched Jalen Hurts win a Super Bowl. Yeah, I don't think Jalen Hurts is a top 10 quarterback in the NFL. So not JJ. Good point. Dude, the Eagles situation is just so ideal. Favorite college football stadium you played at? Going back to Washington, the greatest setting in college football as a hometown kid was super, super cool, especially night game. See, we played at Oregon and we played at Penn State, but it wasn't a night game, so the atmosphere wasn't as electric. But that's where I go with that. Hank, what's up, yo? Good to see you. Dude, Speedy Cheetah, you know where I stand on this. Will Michael Penix be the greatest Falcon quarterback ever? I've been on a record from the jump. I thought the Falcons taking Penix was a great decision. I had no problem with that. Zero problem with that. They might be my sleeper team in the NFL this year because everyone skips over Penix. You know, you talk about year 2 with Jaden Daniels, year 2 with Caleb Williams, and then you talk about year 2 with Bo Nix and year 1 with JJ McCarthy. Everyone forgets about Michael Penix. Michael Penix would have been the number 1 pick in this year's NFL draft if he had came out this year. But then when the Falcons take him at 8 the year before, it's like the Falcons are dumbasses. Nah, I think the Falcons was a great pick. I get the optics with Kirk Cousins, but if Penix had came out this year with what he put on film at Washington, he would have gone over Cam Ward, in my opinion. I would have taken him 1. Dude's a baller, man. I'm excited for him. Who's your favorite team? I'm a Seahawks guy. I'm a Northwest guy. What's your opinion on Dak Prescott? I think Dak gets a raw deal. I think the narrative around Dak would be so much different if he wasn't the starting quarterback for the Cowboys and his owner wasn't Jerry Jones. Dak's a good quarterback. Dak's a really good quarterback. You can win a lot of games with Dak. Like if Dak was on – this is a slippery slope. This is a slippery slope. I gotta be careful of the team that I'm picking for this. You know what I'm saying, though? Like, Dak sometimes gets a raw deal with all the chaos around him. Dak's like the one steady component to that team. Dak's a good quarterback, but I do think his window is like, you know, this is a really interesting couple of years for him coming up. Yeah. Big year coming up, for sure. For sure. Hey, shout out Legion of Boom. Yes, sir. I was at the Beastquake game. Fun fact. So my take on Tyler Shough, this is going to sound like a hot, spicy take, but I think it's true. I don't think there is not a quarterback, a top round quarterback. I say top round because he's obviously like a fringe first round guy, early second round guy. There has not been a top round quarterback in recent memory, like literally since I've been a kid, that will play with a shorter leash as a rookie quarterback than Tyler Shough, period. Max, what does that mean? What does that mean? Usually when you take a quarterback in the first 2 rounds, you are automatically saying we're giving this kid 2 years minimum. It used to be 3 years, or at least 2.5 years, like into your third year. That doesn't exist anymore. I think the clock has sped up on quarterbacks. But what's going to happen? Tyler Shough is old. He's 26 years old. So there's not going to be the leash for him to like grow into it as much. Also, the New Orleans Saints fan base is not fired up on Tyler Shough. That's just the reality of the situation. They're like, okay, cool, we got a new quarterback, but they're not fired up. So you're not going to have, you know, the fan base, like a portion of the fan base being like, ooh, we got to give him another chance. Will Levis is a guy that comes to mind. Will Levis, there was a portion of that fan base was like, hey, we got to give him year 2. And in hindsight, the Titans probably should have cut bait after year one and you pick one of the top guys in the 2024 draft class. But you gave a guy like Will Levis a second year because there was some buzz around him. If the Saints don't win in year one, they're going to, like, they could be really bad. They could have a top round pick. And if that's Arch sitting there, or if that's some other big time quarterback, there's going to be so much pressure from not only the fan base, but you'll have Kellen Moore in year two, who, like, is he really going to hitch his wagon to Tyler Shough for his potentially his head coaching career livelihood? I don't know. By going with another new quarterback, you kind of reset the clock in your advantage if you're Kellen Moore. I do not think there has been a quarterback that has played with a shorter leash or will have to play with a shorter leash and potentially more pressure than Tyler Shough. Sounds like a goofy take. It's not when you unpack it. Fight on, Tim. Why is no one worried about Dante Moore? I mean, because there was no world that he was going to start last year. Not with Dylan Gabriel there. I'm not worried about him. There's a lot of true freshmen that wouldn't have been able to operate the offense at UCLA. He got put out there, tough situation. I'm excited about what Dante Moore could be. Sneaky Heisman value from a betting perspective. Scott Arnway, 30 for 30 incoming, Manning family legacy. So the best YouTube video that I've posted last month, go check it out if you haven't watched it, is called We've Never Seen a Quarterback Like This. And I did a unique insight into Arch Manning's journey and kind of where he's at right now. Go check it out. It popped on YouTube. We've never seen a quarterback like this. And then type in Max Brown. Video will come up. Matt Barkley went from dude to nothing. Why? I always struggle with this one because nothing is what happened with guys like me, guys that didn't make it to the NFL. Matt Barkley had an 11-year NFL career. So that's better than a lot of guys. That's better than a lot of guys drafted ahead of him. So, yes, I know he was once like the chosen one, once supposed to be like, the number one overall pick. But to say nothing to me isn't fair. Because you don't hang around in 11 years in the NFL if you can't play quarterback. So it speaks to why football is the ultimate team sport. Speaks to why you have to have the perfect scenario. But I don't think it's fair to say Matt Barkley's career was nothing. You can say that about my career, but not Matt Barkley's. And that's 102. I got to get rocking and rolling here. Need to eat some lunch. But this is fun. Dude, the past two lives have flown by. Appreciate you guys hanging out. Numbers were a little bit lower today. Obviously, probably because it's only July 3rd. People traveling for the holiday. But this was fun. I'm live every single Thursday at noon, every Tuesday at noon. That might switch in the season, so look out there. For all you guys on TikTok, I've been slow posting on TikTok because I've been a lot more active on YouTube, posting long-form videos. We've got some momentum there. If you like my short-form content, you're going to love the long-form content as well. It's fun. It's good stuff. It's stuff I'm proud of. Go check it out, Max Brown on YouTube, and I will see you guys Tuesday. Hopefully got some 4th of July stories. Nothing crazy, but go have a blast, everybody. Take it easy.